Hey everyone, I'm Food Chef Chaya Ryvka from thelivingvision.com here on behalf of Living Tree Community Foods. And I have another recipe to share with you. We're going to be featuring Living Tree's Divine Almond Butter in another form of almond butter fudge. So in a previous video, I made an almond butter freezer fudge. I wanted to show you a really quick, easy way to make a chocolate, to use this phenomenal almond butter. I showed you a number of different ways that I use it at home. My son was eating his little almond butter banana sandwiches, and we made a fun, quick, easy almond butter freezer fudge. But today, we're going to make an almond butter cup fudge. So what this is a multi-layered confection with an almond butter base and a fudge, ooey gooey fudge topping. And it's really good, really sensual, and will satisfy your desire for a chocolatey, sweet, salty something or other. Okay, so it's also pretty easy, not quite as easy as the almond butter fudge, but let's get started and I'll show you what we do and how we do it. So we're starting with the Organic Alive almond butter from Living Tree Community Foods, and I'm going to measure out 1 cup of this almond butter. Yum! So good. So if any of you are fans or friends on Facebook, you may have seen my recent Valentine's confection, which I called an almond butter cup petit four, and there was also an almond butter cup tart. So what you're getting here is 2 sections of that recipe. And the reason I'm only giving you 2 sections of that recipe is, one, it's going to be a lot easier and more user-friendly, more makeable in your home kitchen, but also because as delicious as that recipe was, I still want to play with the exact amounts of this, that, and the other thing. So it's a recipe under development, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I'm going to keep developing that one just a bit before I give it to you. But in the meantime, let's get you these 2 delicious layers in its own form and confection. And it will be a lot easier to make and quicker for you to eat and quite satisfying. So here I have my 1 cup of almond butter, and I'm just going to stir all of these ingredients together in a bowl. And now to that, I will be adding some coconut nectar. And this is Living Tree's coconut nectar. It's a dark colored coconut nectar. It's thick, it's rich, it has a very caramelly type of flavor to it. And I really adore that specific flavor in terms of a coconut nectar. It's a liquid sweetener that would be similar to a honey or a maple syrup. Obviously it has its own distinct flavor and also complex mineral profile, as well as being a lower glycemic sweetener than the other one. So it's rich in minerals, lower glycemic, and a nice caramelly flavor. I have my little mock-up recipe over here. So we're just going to do 2 tablespoons of the coconut nectar. And if you all haven't seen this little gadget before, I'm sure you've seen me playing with it if you've been watching my videos. It is a metric wonder cup. They have things like this available at every kitchen supply store you could go to, Bed Bath & Beyond, Sur La Table. And it measures out in cups and ounces and liters and tablespoons and teaspoons. And it's really a great tool to have in your kitchen. Okay, so that was 2 tablespoons of Living Tree's coconut nectar. And then I have here also some coconut sugar. So Living Tree carries lots and lots of different ingredients. If you haven't checked out their website, you should definitely go to livingtreecommunity.com. They have a lot of different items, and they also have this coconut sugar that you get in a pound bag, and I powdered it in order to be able to stir it in here. And the way I did that was I took my coffee grinder, or you might have a spice grinder specifically, or a small pitcher for your high-speed blender, and I measured out 3 tablespoons of my coconut sugar crystals, and I just powdered them up, just blend it until it becomes a powder. And it's really nice to have something like a spice or coffee or clean coffee grinder, obviously, because it's such a small amount that we're powdering. So I'm just going to add that 3 tablespoons that I measured and then powdered right in there. And then we want to add our salt. So salt and sweet are totally in love. They just balance each other out so beautifully, fill your mouth with flavor and open up your salivary glands. So I'm really into bringing that salt just to the point where you can slightly taste it and it opens up all of the flavors going on in your mouth. So today we're adding a teaspoon of salt to this mix. And if you don't love that slight salt in your sweet, then start with less. Give it a taste and see what you think. But for me, I'm going for a teaspoon, and then I'm even going to add a little pinch because I know this recipe well. Okay? So that was a teaspoon and a pinch of a high mineral sea salt. I'm very much enjoying the Sel Gris de Guérande French table salt. I'm sure I'm thrashing that name. But Living Tree has this French table salt, which is a gray sea salt, full mineral spectrum. Also the Himalayan salt and the red alley salt from Hawaii. All full mineral sea salts, and that's what you want, because even though we're making sweet treats here, we want to know that our body is going to recognize everything in this food and be able to absorb as much of the mineral content and the life as possible, so that we can be radiant and healthy and still enjoy some lusciously living desserts. Now I'm using the Living Tree's vanilla powder, which is a ground vanilla bean powder, and it's floral and heavenly, and I'm using just a half teaspoon of that. So there is one more ingredient, and what that is some cacao butter. What the cacao butter is going to do is help to firm our fudge. So this is the almond butter layer, and if I were just to mix this up as it is, it'd be sticky and ooey and gooey and totally delicious, finger licking good, but it wouldn't cut and slice and serve in the form of a finger fudge or finger dessert that I'm looking for here. So if you don't want the added fat, then just mix this up and use it on a spoon, or top it on top of some type of a crust or a bread or a fruit if you like. But if you want it to firm up, then we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of cacao butter. And this is how you'll get it from Living Tree. It comes in these little containers. Whoops, let's pull it out here. And it's a solid block. You'll open this up and chop it into some little pieces. You don't need to chop the whole thing because we're only using 4 tablespoons. But you'll chop it, put it into a bowl of some sort, and then set that bowl either in your dehydrator at a low temperature for a couple hours to melt, or an hour, hour and a half, or set it into a bowl of hot water, which is what I did. So I'm going to grab my melted cacao butter and bring it over. And I melted it in this nice little ceramic pitcher so that I have a really easy time pouring it out. And we're not heating it at a high temperature. I'm just heating up the water and letting it melt nice and slow. So we're going to measure out 4 tablespoons. You see that beautiful golden liquid there. And now we will add this to our pot. I should have a pot. This bowl is a little small, but I kind of wanted you guys to see what everything looked like as I mixed it. So I used this glass bowl. Okay, that is all of our ingredients, and now I'm just going to stir it together until everything seems really well combined. Obviously, I'm going to take this nice and slow right now. Okay, so once that's well combined, you do want to make sure that any little clumps of the coconut sugar, the powdered coconut sugar, are really dissolved and everything is well emulsified. But once that's done, then you're going to pull out your pan, and you can really use whatever type of pan you want. I'm using an 8x8 square cake pan. I greased my cake pan and then I lined it with some parchment paper. That is going to allow me to pull the fudge out once it's set. So you could also use some plastic wrap. You want to make sure there's some overhang here. And if you have a tart pan or a cake pan with a removable base, or even a cheesecake pan, you could pour it in there. And if you don't need to take the whole thing out and cut it up right away, or you could do that anyhow, but you can also just make slices and serve it right from the pan if the base is removable. But in this type of cake pan, you want to line it. And then we're going to take our almond butter mixture here and just pour it right into the base of the pan. It's nice and liquid, so it's going to spread itself out pretty evenly. We won't have to create the even surface or anything. It's just going to spread and set. And you could really even use a small Tupperware for this if you want to. This cake pan is making a thin almond butter layer, so if you would want it to be a bit thicker, depth-wise, then you would use a smaller container. This I'll cut into larger squares. So, you know, whatever you want. I'm just going to kind of move this around a little bit. Tap it down to make sure it's moving, spread out into all of the edges of the pan. That's also going to allow for any air bubbles to come out. Now we'll set this into the freezer and go on to our deep dark chocolate fudge layer. And this is a really yummy, really fast recipe to make that you can use as a dipping sauce for fruit, or a spread for crepe crackers, or you can firm it up in the refrigerator or freezer and roll it into truffles or use it as a fudge. So it's really a multi-purpose recipe unto itself. And let's get started. Okay, so what we're using right now is 3/4 of a cup of cacao powder. And everything you see here is available on livingtreecommunity.com. They carry the highest quality organic raw cacao powder. And we're also adding some cacao nibs from Living Tree Community Foods. What the nibs do is bring an even more earthy flavor into it. Sometimes for my own palate, when it's just the cacao powder and a sweetener, the flavor is a little on the light side for me. I really enjoy a bitter, dark, deep chocolate. So on one hand, the flavor of the nibs brings more of that earthy, bitter, deep, dark flavor, and also it still contains the fat. So as we break that down in the high-speed blender, the fat within the cacao nib will also help to thicken and set our fudge. So I have a 1/4 cup of cacao nibs that I'm putting in there. Okay, so then we also want to add a sweetener to this. And my sweetener of choice today is the coconut nectar from Living Tree. Again, as I said earlier, it's rich, it's caramelly, it lends itself really well to working with chocolate, and high mineral, low glycemic. We love all that stuff. And I'm putting in 3/4 of a cup of our coconut nectar. You see how dark that is? It's beautiful. Okay. Gotta get yourself one of these puppies, I'm telling ya. Now I also want to use some coconut oil, some of Living Tree's extra virgin coconut oil. And if you make lots of desserts, cook with coconut oil, use it for your skin. It's so good for everything, antimicrobial, antibacterial, a really good fat to use in your body. It actually helps to release stored fat, good energy food. The best deal is to get this really large container. It's a gallon-sized coconut oil, and they've got it at a really good price on Living Tree. So I would do that, and then you could keep it in your refrigerator or just a cool, dark place. Definitely refrigerated during the summertime, but it's the best bang for your buck. So that's a good thing to know about. And of the coconut oil, we're just doing a 1/4 cup. And what this coconut oil is doing is going to firm it up even more once it's refrigerated. If we didn't put that in there, it would still remain more of a dipping sauce, which is lovely, and I would probably lessen the sweetener because this is going to fill some of that in, so it'll be a little less sweet with the coconut oil. So that's optional as well. And I am not melting it down first. I'm just scraping it. If your coconut oil is really hard and solid, then you could transfer some to a bowl and use your dehydrator to melt it, or use, as we did with the cacao butter, the method of placing a bowl into another bowl of hot water and letting that melt. Obviously, you don't want to get the water into the coconut oil. So we'll just pop that right in there. And our final ingredients here are vanilla. We know that chocolate and vanilla are lovers. I'm sure we've all heard about the vanilla orchid that grows on the cacao tree. And I'm putting in 2 whole teaspoons of Living Tree's vanilla powder. This looks like 4, but I'm using a ½ teaspoon measure here. Okay, there we go. And as I have said previously, salt brings out the flavors in everything, sweet as well as savory. And today I'm going to be using 3/4 of a teaspoon in our fudge. That was just a little pinch more. Okay, my final ingredient today, oh, and I did use the Sel de Gris from Living Tree. It's their French table salt, high mineral. Your salt should have color. It should be unrefined. It should not be pure white. We want those minerals. We want to bring those minerals into our body. I'm going to put a slight bit of some cayenne pepper to give my chocolate some kick. You know, when I use a 1/4 teaspoon or an 1/8 of a teaspoon, it's not something that's going to burn your mouth or be spicy on your palate, but it will conjure up some heat and another layer of flavor that I find to be really appealing and really nice. So, not to mention that cayenne is a medicinal food as well that we can add into everything food-wise. Okay, so that's all of our ingredients. Now, you do need a high-speed blender to break down those cacao nibs, and it's okay that it get a little bit warm. You don't want it to get hot or steaming in order to maintain the integrity of our raw living foods. But you can let it get warm. That will actually allow the nibs to release that cacao butter that is still held in the nib. And we do need a plunger for this one, so let me grab that. This is my plunger. Goes right into my Vitamix, and if your high-speed blender is a Blendtec or otherwise, I believe they should have a plunger as well. But it's very thick, so we're going to have to keep feeding it down into the center, into the blade. Here we go. Starting to warm up, and that's what I want, so let's go ahead and check it. I'm going to check it for texture and flavor. I don't want to feel the grittiness of the cacao nibs. It should be really smooth, which it looks very silky smooth. And I just want the flavor to be a nice balanced, deep, dark chocolate, not too sweet, not too salty, but also I want it to pop. I want it to be so delicious that I would just like one more lick. And if it doesn't quite do that, I'll add another little pinch of salt or another splash of vanilla. Yum! It doesn't need a thing. This is delicious. It has a slight minor grittiness to it that I want to smooth out more, and it's not very warm yet. So I'm going to keep it blending just for another 20 or 30 seconds, and then we'll stop it and top off our almond butter. Okay, here we go. You guys, I'm really excited for you. You're going to love this. So you see, it's not too complicated. It's really actually quite easy, just a couple steps. And here's our almond butter fudge. It's nice and cold, so it's going to start to cool down our chocolate fudge really quickly. We'll still have to set it in the freezer, but it's not going to take too long. So first step is let's get all the little leftover fudge off of this plunger because we want every last drop. And then I'm going to show you how beautiful this fudge looks. I mean, it's gorgeous. It is so thick and shiny. Let's move some of our product aside here. Here we go. Ready? Watch this. Ooh-wee. Oh my gosh. Can you see? I hope you guys can see this because if you are, your salivary glands are probably starting to kick off some juice. It looks so good. And it smells so good. Okay, so there's still quite a bit left in here. We want to get as much out as we can. And then, of course, with whatever's left over, either you or a loved one or you and your loved ones can have the job of licking the bowl because this stuff is too good to wash down the drain. Okay, so this one is so thick that we will definitely be using our offset spatula. I like this mini one because it fits in this pan nicely. And I just want to smooth it out and make it as beautiful as I can. So I'm just spreading it around to all the edges. Oh my gosh. You guys, I know you're going to come visit me if I ever open up a raw patisserie, right? Okay. I'm just spreading it nice and smooth. This looks divine. Oh my, oh my. Now you could top this off with some chopped, soaked and dehydrated almonds or some cacao nibs for some texture. I'll show you what I'm going to do. And I'm just kind of giving it some texture here to make it look even more luscious. Okay. Should I do it? Would you do it? I won't do the whole thing. You know, I was completely sugar-free for 5 months. So it's kind of nice because I can stop myself now before I go too far. However, I am feeling like it would be really fun to sprinkle some nibs on top of here. And I also want to sprinkle just a bit of some sea salt. And I am going to get some of my nibs. Also choose to put some mulberries or goji berries. You know, so there's so much you could do with this, but I'm just going to go straight forward with some nibs, some sea salt. Now I'll stick this in the freezer, and when I come back it'll be ready for cutting. Yum! Here we go. Okay everybody, so the deed is done. It's been set in the freezer. It's been quite a while. I went to go pick up my son from preschool, and but it's nice and firm now, which is good. So it's much easier to cut that way, and it's ready to serve after that, although we want to let it thaw a little. However, it will have that time while we're cutting it. So first step here is to gently pull it out of your shell. And because I left this overhang, I can use that to just really easily lift it out. And I'll put my pan aside. And then we want to remove the parchment paper, which also is a very easy task. And then actually remove the whole block. Look at that! Pretty nice, huh? Okay. Now we want to cut it into nice little squares. So what I'm going to do first is score my bars. You can just kind of make a light line so you can see how big you want them, and then you kind of have a grid work to follow so you can make pretty even squares. So I'm going to do 6 by 6. We'll have 36 little squares in the end. Okay, now I have in this little cup just a bit of olive oil. So what I want to do is grease my knife. That'll give us a cleaner cut. And we're going to go ahead and start cutting our bar. And so forth until you've completed the whole brick. And we have these really cute little squares of fudge, almond butter fudge. I will give you a close-up shot, but I might as well tempt you a little bit by letting you watch me taste it, and then I can tell you how absolutely phenomenal they really are. Here we go. Mmm. Whoa. Mmm. That is extreme. You guys are going to love this. You're welcome. Okay, well, you guys are really going to love this. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Food Chef Chaya Ryvka from thelivingvision.com, here on behalf of Living Tree Community Foods. If you want to join me on Facebook, find me at facebook.com/Chef Chaya, and Chaya Chaya. Living Tree is also on Facebook, so you should find them and friend them, and you'll see what's going on, and you'll get to see, if you're friends with me, everything I'm working on and what I'm doing, and I'd love to see you around the digital airwaves. Okay, lots of love. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.